Welcome, everybody. Glad to have you here. Denny Grimes coming from rainy Southwest Florida right now. It's 3 o'clock here. I know you might be from all over the country. And KCN, of course, is broadcasting from Phoenix. So they're minus 3 hours. So they're just waking up. So we're going to have a great class today. And we're talking about how to get listings in a white hot market. However, this is the first time I've modified the class because there's some things that are going on in the market that aren't like the last 6 months. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit, right? So I got my co-host, Joe. Where are you, Joe? Are you there? Oh, he's gone. All right, he probably went to get a coffee or maybe he's taking a nap. Don't worry about it. So go ahead and put in your chat where you're from, because we're gonna have a conversation. It'll be a small, intimate group here, probably less than 50 or 100. And I wanna hear from you because I have a lot of slides. I can go on for hours and hours and hours. However, I'd like to be able to be germane because I want you to win at the table. And basically you're going to win by having and handling objections and overcoming their concerns about wanting to buy in a market that may be falling or sell in a market that may be stagnant. So I got Dallas. Awesome. Hey, by the way, Lynn, you know, I'm a Buck fan. The Cowboys are playing, I think it's September 9th, first game of the NFL season. Cowboys, world champion Buccaneers. Who do you think is going to win? Anyone can weigh in. Who do you think is going to win, Bucks or Cowboys? I already know the answer to that. So, but did you get that out of the way? So I see you from all over the country. So let's go. Let's talk about some things I would like to be able to impart with you. Joe, I introduced you and you were gone. That was your restroom break. Okay, so now you can go ahead and say hi to everybody, my co-host.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. We're super excited to be here to talk about listings. We know that in this market, a listing taken is all but a guaranteed commission check. So we want to be able to help you find and close more listings. That's the purpose of the next 2 hours. So turn off your cell phone, turn off your computers, unless you're watching us on your computer, turn off your email, and let's dive in for the next 2 hours so that you can take more listings in your business.
And I promise that 2 hours will go very, 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 very fast. So here's the things I'm going to cover and make sure you'll have a great understanding of it. And, you know, you might not be able to read that behind me. However, just listen here just a second. And at the end, you can take a screenshot if you want. But here are the points we're going to be covering. Number one, I want you to be able to know the 7 reasons why a seller should be on the market now. Now, we've been preaching this for a year. However, it's more urgent now that you talk to sellers because they're predicted. A lot of sellers went to the couch a year or so ago when COVID hit, right? And a lot of them stayed there. That's a gold mine. However, except for maybe the last couple of weeks, and who knows what's the next couple of weeks, sellers have been feeling a little bit more freedom about getting out and getting on the market. So you want to get ahead of that. And you know what? There are 7 reasons why the seller should be on the market now, in spite of what's going on. Next, there's 7 sources of shadow sellers. I'm going to give you 7 different sources of sellers that are hidden from most people. And they're if you go after them, you might be the only one talking to them. So that, like Joe said, a listing taken is a listing sold. Then we're going to be talking about the power of great questions. Everyone now is talking about, we're not even using the word script anymore in bold. We're talking about conversations. Wouldn't it be great where you don't have to memorize a bunch of stuff? You could just have great conversations. And if you want to have great conversations, you ask a lot of questions. You read Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's all about asking them, let them talk. And that's how we become successful at the table. Next, we're going to be talking about techniques. The technique of question-based listing enhanced conversation. I've been teaching this for a year. We're going to role play any objection you have. We're going to role play buyer, seller. I don't know, maybe have a challenge with your child or teenager. Well, I don't think anything works on teenagers. However, if you've got something you want to role play, we're going to role play it. We put timers on it, 4 minutes. We're going to go lickety split. And if you can stump me or Joe, I'll enter you into the drawing for 2 tickets to Greece. That's right, 2 tickets to Greece. It's an awesome movie. Next, we're going to be talking about rejection proof, database engagement. How would you like to be able to engage your database, even with people we haven't talked to since 1908? And you know what? There's no rejection. We'll be talking about that. We might even move that up a little bit in the play deck because I want you to try it full on. And then we're going to talk about mastering objections. Listen. If someone doesn't give you an objection, that means they're not interested. So objections are your friends. So we'll be talking about that. And here you go. We'll be role playing anything you want to role play. So if you want to take a screenshot of that, awesome, you can do that. And anyway, we're going to keep moving forward. So Denny Grimes is my name. I've been in real estate almost 40 years. And I have a YouTube channel called Mastery of Real Estate. And I teach mastery level role play. And we just talked about it, question-based listing enhanced conversations. And if you'd like to have a year's worth of information, my TV spots, all my role plays, etc., go to Denny Grimes Mastery of Real Estate and subscribe. And of course, hit that little bell. And that means you get notified when something good comes on there. And there's some good stuff there, right? So here we go.
Danny, let me give you a quick plug because I've watched those YouTube videos for the past year. And what I like about them is they're short, they're quick, and they're really, really relatable. Even though you're talking about your hyperlocal market on your hyperlocal news station, it's the kind of conversations that anybody on this call could be having. So at minimum, go check out 2 or 3 of Denny's segments and ask yourself the question, how can I incorporate a similar conversation in statistics and analysis of my local market and get that out to my sphere of influence?
Here's the script. Thanks for sharing that, Joe. Here's the script. You'll see a screenshot of it here in a little bit. Every other week, I'm on a CBS affiliate. They give me 3 minutes. They give me 3 minutes. Sorry about that. They give me 3 minutes to talk about anything I want to talk about. And I don't use it for self-promotion. I use it for information. And what am I doing? I'm following Gary Keller's Eat It, Become the Local Economist of Choice. So I have been doing that probably 8 or 10 years. I've been running longer than Seinfeld, so that's a good thing, right? So how about this, Joe? This was my last one. There was a very respected YouTube guy out there that just came out, and this is what your buyers are going to be hearing. I want you to be prepared for it. The housing market is in dire straits. Now, I know if you're working with buyers, particularly, they're starting to ask more and more, should I buy now? We're going to be covering that. So I have that spot on my YouTube channel. It's 3 minutes, and I'm going through the points. I'll show you the slides here in a second. And what Joe's saying, what if you took that same information and you had somebody record you with your GoPro, or you just get your selfie going and you share this information from your point of view, from your desk, and post that. All you have to do is take the spots that I'm doing and do them yourself based on local data, and you can help become the local economist of choice. Now, what's interesting is for the last year and a half, almost, we have been working on getting sellers off the fence. And a lot of agents have been successful, using the ideas we'll talk about here. Here's the new twist, Joe. This is brand new. You've seen this show before. You've not seen this slide. We want to get sellers off the fence before the buyers go to the fence. Because it may be happening where sellers decide to get off the fence and there's fewer buyers. And I can tell you this, as I've been studying the information in our market, and I don't know where you are. I know like Dallas is always crazy. However, I want you to start paying attention because we're seeing signs of the market change. Now, Joe, I'll ask you about Phoenix because my market in Southwest Florida and Phoenix kind of mirror each other. For the last 9 or 10 months, we've seen year-over-year changes, positive, positive, positive. It's like the Bucks on a winning season, right? Not the Cowboys, sorry. Yet in July, last month, sales were down double digits. Now, maybe it's a one-off, I don't know, but we're seeing less showings. We're seeing less multiple offers. And so that may signal a change coming in the market. I want you to be ahead of it because it'd be a shame when sellers come back and get off the fence and get on the market and buyers go off the market. Sellers would have missed the peak. So again, it's another reason for them to be getting off the fence. So let me ask you, how's your market? Well, obviously it's been hot probably all over the country. So let me just ask you to put in the chat on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm sure there's no ones out there, and 10 meaning it's like the best you've ever seen based on where you are. Put the number in 1 through 10. And if you do 11, we get it, or 10 plus, we get it.
We got some 8s, some 9s, a 10. Another 8. Oh, come on. There's more than 4 people on this call. 1 digit. We've got another 9. So mostly 8s, 9s, and 10s so far, Denny.
That's interesting. Now, one more thing. Let's play full on. Again, you might be under the tickets to Greece, right? I want you to put a plus, meaning the market you're in still going up, or a minus, meaning it's not, it may have slowed a little bit. It may not be falling, but it may have slowed a little bit. Put a plus or a minus. And plus if it's still going like crazy, or a if it's slow or slowing. What do you see, Joe?
Nothing but minuses, 1 or 2 pluses, lots of minuses.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Because here's the great thing about that. The media isn't talking about it yet. And that's good news, because as soon as the media talks about it, people will start to react. And who will react? Buyers. I think basically based on my nearly 40 years, we're in the GOAT market. Yes, I know we have Tom Brady. Have I mentioned I'm a Bucks fan yet? And that we played Dallas on the 9th. So I say we have been in the GOAT market, the greatest of all time. And so what do you think? What do you think if we're in the greatest market of all time? What do you think the number one concern is for sellers about coming on the market? What is the number one objection you guys are hearing? You can put it in the chat, or you can unmic yourself and say it. Joe, if you see something, just let me know. You can read the chat better than me.
Yeah, the Holloway Home Group said nowhere to go. Where am I going to live? Where do I go? I can't find a home. Finding a replacement property. Where can I buy?
Well, you know what? That means we're all kind of in the same market, because I typed this slide the other day, and I've been sharing this with agents around the country. This is the number one concern of sellers right now in this GOAT market. If I sell, where do I go? We're going to role play that, and we can do some spin-offs. However, the role play we're going to use will work on any rational seller. We call this is one of the shadow sellers. We call it the homeless seller, meaning if they sell, they're afraid to be homeless. So that's coming up here in a minute. So here's something I want you to think about. In every one of my classes on Tuesday that I post on the YouTube channel, I always have the thought of the day, right? Have you thought about this? Just as I've been talking, you put the minus signs up there. There's always a naysayer out there. There's always a Chicken Little. What is it? Is it Little Chicken or Chicken Little? The sky's falling. Joe, you know that.
I don't even understand the reference, Denny.
All right, so he grew up, there was no fairy tales when he was growing up. Okay, so I think it was Chicken Little, right? The sky's falling. And I don't usually pay attention to that. However, I mentioned, I watched the YouTube, and the guy was credible. The guy had good information. Let me just share an awesome slide with you. All right, pay attention here. So if you're playing Call of Duty, just hang on a minute. Okay, watch this. Fannie Mae does a survey. I didn't even know this on buyers' opinion of whether or not they should step into the market or not. And the blue line you see on top is a positive. Buyer saying, yes, it's a good time to buy. The red line is buyers saying, I don't think it's a good time to buy. And you look at it, typically there's 60 to 70% of buyers that want to buy a home say it's a good time to buy. However, what's it been doing, Joe?
Yes.
Kind of trending down, right?
Yep.
Until it got to this summer, look at the lines. They've inverted. Now we have 64% of buyers out there saying, I don't think it's a good time to buy. Instead of 64 or 65% of the buyers saying, I think it's a good time to buy.
That's a hugely insightful graph. Visually, I mean, you can see right when it happened, and that the market, not so much the data, but the perception of the market from the buyers has drastically shifted.
And here's something you can take to the bank. It's going to get worse before it gets better. But that's okay. We're going to be armed for it. We're going to talk, we're going to cover, and that is the buyer's number one concern. Should I buy or should I wait? And the seller's number one concern is, if I sell, where am I going to go? It's an interesting time in the market. So let me give you the reasons why they're saying this market's going to change. I'm only going to spend a few minutes here. I want you to be aware of it, and I'll give you my take on it. In fact, going back to the script, this is what I covered on the 3 minutes on that video. If you want to go watch what I had on the news, number one, right here, lower buyer sentiment. Well, when you have 2/3 of the buyers saying it's not a good time to buy, I mean, you guys are already feeling it. You know, buyers aren't coming in near as rabid. They're not, they're not like usually sellers say, I want you to jump. As buyers would say, how high? Now sellers saying, I want you to jump. And they're saying, why? You know, the heat, the passion is gone from the buyers. Number two, lenders. There's a decrease in the amount of applications for purchase loans. Yes, I know there's probably more cash purchases, but it is a secondary thing. Less people are using financing, and and it's actually showing up. You know, we have all record prices in our market, your market too. We have record high prices, yet we have decreasing home sales. I just shared, we're down double digits, 11% here in Lee County and Naples, down 18%. These are things I want you to watch. Next. I mean, have you seen what's going on in the world lately? Forget about the people flying Spirit who can't get out of New York City. I mean, it's crazy. There's a lot of unrest, economic unrest. And now with COVID coming back, there's a lot more uncertainty. Have you heard about inflation? Yes. And of course, here's the last one. So very last one down here, influx of inventory. Now, inventory coming into the market is a buyer's best friend. So if a buyer, once they get the feeling that more inventory is coming, that's going to be downward pressure on price, more selection. And you know what? And here's where they say the inventory is coming from. They say there's 2 or 3 million, 2 million sellers that went to the couch when COVID hit 16 or 18 months ago. They may be coming off the couch now. I know he said this probably in the last 2 weeks, things have changed. So I don't really know what's going to happen. The other thing, builders are gearing up because they have such a demand that new housing is going to be coming up. 30% increase in builder product is going to be added to the market. The third section, which I don't think is going to be really, really big, and that's the forbearance. I did a TV spot about that a couple of weeks ago, and they just extended the rental the eviction moratorium. So they're saying more inventory is coming. Those are the reasons. A case for a market correction. There's 6 or 7 of them there. Now, that's enough of that. Let me give you the reasons that there's not going to be a market correction. Right there. There isn't one. How about that, Joe?
Well, there we go. That pretty much simplifies it.
So the market is going to correct. Now, here's where I disagree with my friend on the YouTube channel. He's talking about a crash. He's comparing it to 2006. I don't think we're going to see a crash. I think it's going to be a correction. And it is going to correct sooner or later. Here's the thing that I'm concerned about with you and me. I'm not a physics major. However, when you look at a pendulum and you slow it down before it comes back the other way, before something changes direction, Joe, what does it have to do first?
Has to stop.
There you go. When the expectation gap widens between what the sellers want and what the buyers are willing to pay, it becomes a game of a tug of war. And you know what? It's a golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules. And during that stop period is the most challenging time in real estate, because sellers think the market's still the way it was. Buyers saying, ain't no way, I'm not stepping into it. And there's a pause. Get ready for it. This was just a clip. This is on my YouTube channel talking about the market in dire straits. Go to my YouTube channel, watch it, and become a little bit educated, because you'll be stronger when you meet with a buyer or seller. Buyer's top concern, we already talked about it. Should a buyer, should I wait? And here's my point. I don't want that to be you. I want you to be ahead of this, because it's going to happen. Joe, what are you seeing in Phoenix?
Yeah, exactly what you said. I mean, things are still strong, but it's slowed down, right? So the rate at which things are increasing has slowed down. We're seeing like you just said, a few more buyers are now saying, well, do I really need to go that much over asking? Maybe I will just wait a little bit longer. We see sellers saying, well, how did I only get 3 offers on my property, or only 5 offers on my property? So we are starting to see that already. And I think I love your analogy of the pendulum. It has to come to a stop in order for it to move directions. And I agree with what you're saying. I don't think it's a crash so much as a correction. And corrections happen. If you look at Gary's book called Shift, you know that there's seasonal shifts that happen on an annual basis, and there's economic shifts that happen over decades. And that's exactly what we're about to experience.
Right on. And Jill had a good question there. Foreclosures coming due to government forbearance, blah, blah, blah. You had that question at open house. Yes, this is a question that will come from buyers, because if foreclosures are hitting the market, this is like a 9-year-old, when's Christmas Day? They're thinking Christmas is coming. So here's my blink on this. So, again, everyone has an opinion. However, I think a lot of people support this. I lived through 2006 and 7 and lived to tell about it, right? I worked through that. I lived to tell about it. I don't think it's going to happen, because you know why? There's people that are behind on their mortgage. Number one, the government is going to work on a transition plan. If they have a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac or VA or government loan, they're going to work on a transition plan to keep them in the home, because they don't want them out of the home. I mean, the government's putting money everywhere, right? The other side, even if they didn't, most of these homeowners have equity, unlike 2006. So Think about this. This is an opportunity for you to watch for those people in forbearance. They may be wanting to sell, particularly if they're a little bit older. We're seeing a major trend for baby boomers to sell their house and go to rental communities. Builders are building rental communities, and that way they don't have to worry about it. You know, they're going to take their equity, pile of money, blah, blah, blah. I don't think the foreclosures are coming in great numbers. So we can role play around that too, because there is a formula that we use that you're talking to a buyer or seller that's afraid to move forward. Number one, you want to isolate and understand their fear. You want to ask them what their alternative is. And then your third step is, what's your greater pain? So Joe, make a note of that. We'll make sure we go into those role plays here in just about a few minutes. Now, I have to talk about this, you guys. Mindset. I'm a bold coach. It's required. I should be wearing purple. Everything is geared to mindset. So let's talk about this. Obviously, COVID-19, we know about it. It caused a market disruption. Yes, we did. However, the only thing different about COVID and every other market disruption we've had 9/11, we've had recessions. Alaska seen oil prices fall. I'm in Florida. We had the Gulf oil spill. You know, we've had local ones. We've had regional ones. We've had global ones. Listen, they're all the same. What happens is uncertainty enters the market. Every buyer and seller deals with some level of uncertainty. Yep, during this last year, we've had fear. And this is worth writing down and remembering. Fear is a terrible advisor. And when people go to fear, and I trust we'll have some role plays here soon. We're dealing with some of the concerns that buyers and sellers have. They're rooted in fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of not finding a house to buy, fear of the market falling. It's the same. What's interesting, Joe, is this. There's a bold law. I'll put you on a spot. You were in my bold class in Portland, so make me proud. There's a bold law that says, what you finish the sentence. Logic makes you think, what?
Emotion makes you act.
There you go. So what's fear? It's emotion. And so what we're going to find out here is the way you're going to attack that. The bold law works the other way too, because I think, okay, if you want them to buy, you want them to sell, you want them to have the emotion of, oh, I can't wait to move, or new backyard, blah, blah, blah. Yet fear is an emotion, makes them act, and they're acting by not moving forward. Lack of action is acting. And the only way to break that barrier between them being afraid to step into the market because they think it's going to crash, or sell their home because they fear they can't find another home, is you have to then attack that with a little bit of logic. And the way you do that is through questions. Now, here's one of the points we're going to talk about, right? Great questions and good questions. There's no bad questions. Let me demonstrate this. All right, Joe, so you're my co-host, but we've not rehearsed this, right?
Right.
You have no idea what I'm going to do. So of course
I never know what's coming when we co-host together, Denny.
I know.
I'm on the edge of my seat over here. Let's do it.
I introduced you and you weren't even there, so you can tell much we rehearsed. Guys, questions. This works. Good question. Joe, what month were you born?
February.
Boom. That's a good question. Why? Because I learned something. I don't think he learned anything. I think he knew that. Now, he answered it right away. So let me ask you, that's a good question. You know what a great question is? All right, here's a great question. Joe, you have a magic wand. You could be born in any month you want other than February. What month would you choose?
Probably July.
Now, was there not a pause? During that pause, Joe's wheels were turning. There was thinking going on. Logic was taking place. He was processing. So when you start to ask buyers and sellers questions that make them think, their inner voice is talking to themselves. And write this down, their inner voice is 10 times, 100 times more powerful than your voice. That's how you break the barrier of fear, by making them think, what's your alternative? Because, hey, listen, any decision they make or not make, there's an alternative to it. And the doctor says, I think you should maybe consider getting that spot looked at. You can do it or not. There's a consequence of not doing it. So that's exactly what we're going to do. And for a rational buyer, a rational seller, it seems to work. One of the first things we have to do, though, and this is taught in sales courses since day one, is decide if we're going to be empathetic or sympathetic. Now, you all know, I mean, you all kind of know the difference in empathy and sympathy. Empathy is like, okay, I understand how you feel, and you move forward like a doctor or anyone, a caregiver is empathetic for their patient. Sympathetic is you get down and emotionally get to their level and you're sympathetic with them. You can't help anybody from sympathy, right? So right now, as uncertainty is entering back into our market, I want you to make the decision, because this is exactly, Joe, you mentioned the book Shift. This is exactly what Gary's talking about in Shift. Let me give you an example. So Joe, let me ask you, it's like, do you remember, did you go to kindergarten, or maybe they don't have that for kids at your age?
Yeah, no, they had that, and I qualified and everything.
Did you really? Okay. So then where were you on when your first day of kindergarten? Do you remember it?
I remember being outside the school for sure. Almost in that same picture. Yeah. Being outside with my mom outside of the school on the steps.
Here's a classic example of empathy and sympathy. First day of kindergarten, this guy ready to pop in there. He's excited. He's got his new clothes and his new backpack. It's a new venture into the unknown, right? On the other end of the spectrum, you may have raised one, you may eventually raise one as well, somebody we call the clinger. This kid, no way, no how, is going into that room. And he says to his mom, hey, mom, I'm not going in here. I'm crying. I'm not happy. I want to go home with you. The empathetic mom says this, honey, I understand. I was a little bit apprehensive my first day of kindergarten, but I went in there and like the first 10 minutes, I saw a friend. They had great toys. We had great food. And yeah, well, you'll love it. I loved it too. And besides, I got a tennis match. Get in there, right? The sympathetic mom's going to say, you know, I don't think I'd go in there either. It kind of stinks. And, you know, why don't you come home and be with mom? That's sympathy versus empathy. Gary says in Shift, buyers and sellers in the unknown, they need someone to intervene to help them overcome their reluctance. I'm going to give you the tools to do that in just a few minutes. However, you cannot help someone if you're in fear. That's like jumping a dead battery with a dead battery. Now, it's okay. You can take care of yourself. And there's agents out there that went to the couch too. There's agents in different states and different states of mind that are fearful in this time. Now, it's okay to be prudent, but can you imagine going to work like that? No. When there's a challenge in the market, some people see germs, some people see opportunity. It's raining rubies, so I want you to get your own rubies, right? So I'm going to skip that. You already know the market's been pretty good. So I'm going to get into the six things we should be doing to get more listings, and then we're going to get into the role play. So if we're in the GOAT market, Joe, we're in the best market of all time. People are having a record year. Why are agents struggling to get business?
Is that rhetorical? Or do you want me to give you my thoughts?
Well, I love your thoughts.
Hang
on a second. Let's get their thoughts. Does anyone want to say why?
That's a better idea. Yeah. Go ahead and why don't we have go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll have you come off mute. And just how would you respond to Denny's question? If we're in the best market of all time, go ahead, Denny.
No, I mean, so what does anybody have to say? Not working the leads. All right, Jill. Discount agents, no follow-up. They're not doing the basics, right? I mean, even in a great market, we have to work. Let me give you a quick story, and you can write this down because I've seen cycles. There's people on this call that have seen cycles in business, ups and downs. Gary Keller talks about it in Shift. And you know what? If you don't like, it's kind of like the weather in Florida. If you don't like it, just wait 20 minutes. It'll change. And this time of year, we have rain, sun, blah, blah, blah. So here's an axiom. When listings are hard to get, they're easy to sell. And when they're hard to get, when listings are hard to get, they're easy to sell. That's what we're in. But I have seen the market, you guys, the other way around. Is anyone on this call in the market in 2005, 6, 7, or when the market crashed? Put a yes or no in there. We got some yeses. It was capital yeses. Yes. Okay. So you're going to like this story. The 3 worst markets in the history of the universe: Fort Myers, Florida, where I am; Phoenix, Arizona, where you are, Joe; and Las Vegas, Nevada. I don't know if anyone, because you know why? We had foreclosure capital of the world because we had all that speculation going on. So right now, Joe said, everyone right now, I know 2 things for sure. Everyone knows a shadow seller, and when you get a listing, it's easy to sell, right? A listing taken is a listing sold. Let me take you back to 2005. I moved into my brand new building here. It's 12,000 square feet. 2005. I mean, I had the grand opening at maybe October. The market crashed in January. And so the Chamber of Commerce, Joe, they came in and cut the ribbon. They gave me a plaque with a dollar bill. You know the market's bad when you have to take the dollar bill out of the plaque. And you know what? Listings were hard to get until the market crashed. And when the market crashed, sellers were bleeding to death. And so we had to put red crosses on our building because people were being brought in by medevac. And you know what? We had to change some things. You've heard of MASH. Well, we had this, the market was crashing. And you know what? Listings were easy to get. In fact, we had to change our reception desk. We had to call it the triage desk. In our conference rooms, we had to change to grief counseling rooms. You guys, listings were easy to get then because they were hard to sell. And the interesting thing is that when the market starts to fall, here's the thing I don't want you to believe. When the market starts to fall, buyers will not step in. Why do you think that is?
Don't want to catch falling knives.
There you go. When they know they can step into the market and the market's going up. In fact, I'm going to show you, I'm going to change your mindset about this market we're in. Now, get me, I'm not calling a crash coming up here. I just want you to know when the media starts reporting it, buyers are going to pull back. I want you to be able to have a conversation around it. Number one, when you work with buyers, let's go. Here's today's market. Who's got the muscle? Well, typically, the seller has the muscle. It started to equal out. However, one thing that I've learned is I'm not using the term anymore, guys, seller's market, because it suggests to the sellers they win and suggests to the buyers they lose. Here's an idea for you. Don't call it a seller's market. Why don't you call it a winner's market? And here's the script. Yes, sellers win in this market because they're putting extra equity in their pocket, Mr. Buyer. Yet it is a winner's market for buyers too, because as soon as you lock in a price, you now are riding the same equity elevator the seller is. Won't that be fun? So in the market we're in, sellers win, buyers win, lookers lose. What do you think of that, Joe?
Well, I like it because appreciation rates have been historically high. I mean, the average appreciation rate over the last several decades in the United States is about 4%, right? Anywhere, depending on your market, ranges between 3 and 5%. In most markets around the country, we're seeing between 8 and 12% appreciation every year. So it's 8 to 12% increase in value based on actual sales that have happened on the entire value of the property. So to Denny's point, when he talks about riding the equity elevator, we're talking about that annual appreciation that's recurring at record levels all over the country.
So is there anybody out there who would like to be a buyer that has some hesitancy about stepping into the market? Let's do one of our role plays now. And then I'm going to talk about working with sellers, and we can do a couple seller role plays as well. So right now there's people that buyers are hesitant. Yes. And you know what? We've had buyers say, I'm just tired of the multiple offers. I'm just tired of all the hassle. I want to wait. Has anyone had a buyer like that? Anyone want to come mic up with and role play with me? You've got the easy part. You can just be a buyer. And let me walk you through how I would handle that using questions to help them self-discover some things. This would be a good time to do one.
Perfect. Jill, I saw you say yes in the chat box. Do you want to come off mute and just role play with Denny as the buyer, as the client?
Yes. I actually had, I would love to do that because I had a buyer ask me something about the foreclosure variance. So thank you.
Hang on, Jill. Are you the Dallas person?
No, I'm actually in Arizona.
Okay. I just didn't know if the Dallas person was mad because they said the Bucs were going to beat them. Okay, Jill, you take the position of a buyer.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm coming in and you know what? I hear that the forbearance is, I know it's extended until September, but I really feel like a lot of foreclosures are going to come on and I really want to wait because I feel like these levels are still high and I think I want to wait until it comes down and see. So I'd rather wait on these home purchases.
All right. So hang on a second. I'm going to get to the right slide. I'm going to show you what I'm going to be doing.
Okay.
This is the model. Here we go. I would take a picture of that, you guys, or write it down, screenshot or whatever you do. You got a Polaroid, you got a flash cube, take a picture of it. So evidently you remember flash cubes. So when somebody has an objection or a concern, the model to follow is simple. You acknowledge, you isolate, you answer and close. So I'm going to do that. And so Jill, understand you said that you're hesitant about stepping into the market now, right? Because you think you're going to have a better opportunity in the future.
I do. I really do. I do remember 2008, and I just feel like it's going to maybe not be that same bubble, because I know a lot of people came in with cash, but I feel like they might come down just a tad where it makes it a little bit affordable.
So you guys count my questions, okay? Just count them. So here we go. Isolation. The way you want to isolate, it's kind of like memorizing scripture verses. I don't know if anybody remembers, in Bible school, everyone wanted to memorize the shortest verse in the Bible. Anybody remember what that was? Any go to Bible school?
Amen.
No, there's a 2-word verse in the New Testament, says Jesus wept. So I'm going to give you the most powerful 3-word script there is. Other than that, Jill, just other than that, is there any other reason why you wouldn't want to step into this market and start building equity? Now I'm going to slow down just before you answer that. Notice I did not say buy. What did I say?
Other than that.
Well, I know, but what did I didn't say buy. What did I say? Step into the market and what? Build
Equity. So the equity, yes. So that planted the seed in my mind. Okay.
All right. So, anything else?
Well, I feel like I'd like to live in a certain area, but I feel like I'm outpriced in that area. So I don't want to really, I know I could probably buy, but I'd rather wait to buy in this Scottsdale area instead of Glendale.
Okay, so are you saying then, I'm getting clarity, that there's a section of this neighborhood you want to be in that is a little bit out of your price range right now?
Yes.
And if you wait, maybe they'll come down in your price range?
I feel like they might come down just a little bit. Yes.
So we have a lot of experience on the call. So I want to add, and you can come off, and this is where I want you to learn. What I teach people to do in my role play classes, I call it mastery, and I have a chess man there, a chess piece. Because, not that I'm a great chess player, although I did like Queen's Gambit on Netflix.
Yeah, that's good.
I want you to think. Now, let's isolate first, and then I wanted to know if anyone would have a great question to ask Jill next. So far I've asked 2 questions. So anything else other than the fact you want the prices to come down, there's an area you want. Notice I'm not drilling down, what about the area, what do you like about it? Not yet. Here's what I'd like to do. Let's see if I can find a slide for you. This is the metaphor I use for this. I want you to get this in your mind. When you're having conversations with buyers and sellers, even your kids, I want you to have the mental image that you want to unload the car before you unpack the suitcases. So what I am doing is I'm unloading anything that is on her mind. Because if you go somewhere, I mean, vacations used to be legal, right? When you come home, you got the suitcases in the car. You don't take 1 suitcase or 2 suitcases out of the car, put them in the house, and you separate the dirty clothes, put the suitcase away, then go back to the car. I mean, we typically unload the car. Same thing with our groceries. That's what I'm doing with Jill. And the science in that is this. If you start handling the first thing out of her mouth and you think you've handled it well, you may never get to the other things that haven't come out yet. And if you don't have those conversations, does it mean those things go away in Jill's mind? No. So get it all out. So, all right, anything else, Jill, that's causing you hesitancy?
Yeah, I just don't want to settle. I know I could possibly buy. I just don't want to settle into a certain neighborhood.
Okay.
Just for the price alone.
And because this class is only 2 hours, is there anything else? I could just say maybe no.
No, I'm good. I'm good. No.
Awesome. So now when someone gives you a list of things like that, right? Did they give them in the order of importance? Did they give them an alphabetical order? Did they give them into the order of the first thing that came to their mind? What do you think?
I think it's not necessarily the order of importance. It might be, but oftentimes, who knows?
Here's a great thing you write down. This is a great strategy. Write it down. When in doubt, what do? Ask. Too many of assume things. We have bad habits. When we ask a question, we answer it, or we give them a litany of choices. What I want you to do is ask questions and wait on their responses, because their responses will be code. Have you ever gone to an escape room? And their responses will be a clue to help you unlock the locks that help you solve the puzzle in an escape room. If you fill in the blanks, now they're answering with your words, not theirs. So of the three things you mentioned, you think that, that the foreclosures that come on the market, which may give you a better opportunity, and there's an area that you want to be in and hope the prices come down there, and there's an area you don't want to be in, which is what you can afford now. What is your main concern, Jill?
I guess probably paying more for that than the house is worth eventually.
Now, we have just gotten to the center of the Tootsie Pop. Now we're going to have to go to work. Next step. The next step is, what's your alternative? What are they doing now? Does Jill own? Does Jill rent? Because it's a different conversation, right? So Jill, let me ask you, do you own now, or are you renting?
I own.
Okay. So anybody have a count of my questions? Joe, are you counting my questions, or are you playing Candy Crush?
I stopped counting after but you're up to at least 7 or 8 for sure. It's been a lot.
I'll try to bring Lassie home pretty soon. So you own,
Yes.
right? And how long have you owned?
16 years.
Wow. Have you seen your house go up in value?
No. Well, I mean, I have, but I just don't know how far. I know my neighbors are selling, but I haven't really watched it.
So let me ask you this. Do you have to sell to buy?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to have to take a little bit more time. So, all right. So let me see. Just for the sake of this role play.
Can I say no? You want me to say no?
I want you to say you're renting.
I'm renting. Yes. Denny, you know what? I forgot. I'm renting.
Okay. So let me ask you then. How long is it going to take for the market to go down?
I'm hoping in like 6 months to a year, maybe. I'm not sure.
So you're willing to wait 6 months or a year, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a possibility you could be wrong?
Yes.
Is it possible that in that 6 months to a year, the market go up another 10%?
Then I'm in trouble. Then I'll never get my dream.
Okay. So let me ask you, here's the third step. What's your greater pain? Stepping into getting the home over there, even if it's a smaller home in the area you want, and you get there. Now you're living in the area you want to be in. It may not be exactly a perfect home, but it's awful nice. And you find it goes down in value 10%. Now, how long are you going to be there?
Well, probably for another 10 years. Yeah.
Okay. So any minor blip in the market, probably not even relevant, right?
No, you're right. Never thought
So
of that.
what's the greater pain? Going over there and you buy and it goes down 10%, and you're going to be there 10 years, so it'll probably come back up. Or you want to wait for it to go down and it doesn't, it goes up 10%. Now that area you want to live in is further out of reach. Which one is your greater pain?
Not going and still renting. Yeah, I never thought of it that way. That's good.
So that is a simplified way of using the model, understanding their fear, isolating the objection, and basically then you got to know where they are now. Now notice I skipped a spot because I just wanted to bring this to a close to get some other things, is their motivation. Another thing worth writing down is motivation is the gas in the car that gets them to move. Without the motivation, people don't move. Listen, people don't get up. Hey, Martha, I think we ought to just sell our house because I just love going to Home Depot, buying boxes and bubble wrap. Let's pack everything up and move. They don't do that. People don't like moving. They don't even want to list their house. They hate the idea of that. They love the idea of being in the neighborhood they want to be in. They love the idea of being closer to family or further away from them. They love the idea of being bigger or smaller. It's why they're calling us. They don't like to list. So when you go on a listing appointment, it's not, I know you're thinking about getting the listing. That's not what I want you to think about. I want you to think about helping them get moved closer to the grandkids. So I'm going to stop. Anyone want to layer on, or maybe you feel like you want to be a little bit of a buyer? Let's have a role play a little bit and dig down a little bit in a concern a buyer may have right now. And I'll let you role play, or Who would like to give it a try? Joe, is there anybody out there that would like to do that?
Let's give them a chance to think about it and use the chat box. Let me know. Let me just connect some dots for you if you haven't already. We were talking earlier about appreciation and equity upside. Denny's objection that he just overcame is exactly describing them the logic of what's going to happen if you don't buy and riding that equity elevator up, so to speak, right? So if I buy a house today, and to Denny's point, even if it goes down in value, we talked about the fact that the average appreciation is 3 to 5% per year. So if you extend that out over 10 years, you can't go wrong, right? The only time you go wrong and lose money on a house is if you buy high and then choose to sell low. But if you know you're going to be in the house for 10 years, you just wait until, well, first of all, you have to wait until you get to 10 years out because we don't know what the market's going to look like then. But presumably at bare minimum, it's going to have gone up 4% every year compounding for 10 years. So even if you're in a down market relatively in 10 years, it's probably still equity in the house that you've built over the past 10 years. Does that make sense to everybody? So sometimes the logical understanding of how it works is what the clients need to understand to be able to make the move.
Perfect.
I saw JC say, yes, bingo. I don't know if that was about what I was talking about or she wants role play.
Yeah.
JC, do you have an objection or a role play or something?
No,
you've been
you're
hearing from
you're
your
100%
clients?
right. I was just saying bingo. Yes, 100%. That's exactly what we should be saying. No, I do not want to role play.
All right. Well, notice what I did on that. I never made a statement. I know there's a tendency for people who want to start telling them, well, you know, the market's going up. You know, we do this. It doesn't matter. You guys, it's very simple. There's no pressure on us at all. None. Because we're talking about if you don't know what the future is going to be. In fact, if you do know what the future is going to be, would you please get out of real estate? Just go buy Powerball tickets for a living. That's all you have to do. I don't know anything about the future. I just know what's going on right now. And I look for little telltale signs, micro little signs, right? And I can tell you what, the market is going to change. I don't know when, I don't know how much. Let's change it. Let's talk about, because we're talking about listings here. Let's talk about getting some listings. Working with sellers. We know what their objection is. Hey, look, if I sell, I don't know where I'm going to buy. There's 6 steps. If you want to be a better listing agent, there's 6 steps. So I'm going to put them up here, and I want you to tell me which ones you think you would need to improve on. So just, then I'll have the list up at the end, okay? Number 1, knowing how to think. What is your mindset around getting listings in this time? Listen, when COVID first hit 18 months ago, whatever it was, 15 months ago, Joe, one of my agents came into me and they said, listen, I just lost my 2 listings. And I said, well, what happened? Well, the sellers took their houses off the market because of COVID. Now, this is an empathy, sympathy thing, right? And I said, well, what did you say to them? Get this. This was sympathy, not empathy. I said, I don't blame you. I wouldn't have my house on the market either. So if you're coming from that point of view where you wouldn't have your house on the market, you're not going to convince somebody else to have their house on the market, because the only market that matters, write it down, is between your ears. Good golfers can win championships and good football teams can win championships regardless of the weather, right? Even if they deflate the footballs, they can still win championship, right?
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
I know you're from the Northeast, right? So, number 1, what's your mindset? Watch this. This is going to be very timely. When you work with sellers and buyers, I want you to set expectations. I don't want you to set prices. So when you work with a seller and they want X number of dollars for their home, I don't want you to say, no, this is what the market's going to do. Why? Because you're predicting the future. In fact, here's mindset 2. This is new because of COVID. This is new because of the GOAT market. Listen, I don't walk away from any listings right now. None. Any comments on that? Any like, oh boy.
Well, something I've learned from you, Danny, is the only time you would turn away A listing, for example, is if they weren't motivated to sell, because the last thing you want to do is bring on the workload and the marketing expenses of a listing that's not going to sell because you have an unreasonable seller. But what we talked about at the very beginning is a listing taken in this market is a listing sold. So they don't really even need to be that motivated, and they're probably going to get the price they want or more. So to your point, I would agree. Unless they're going to be such a burden to you that it's not even worth the commission check, that would be the only exception.
Well, that's the way I used to think. However, Grasshopper, I have a little bit different opinion of the market right now. So hey, listen, you're mic'd up good. So all right. So I want you to be a seller. You guys on the chat, I want you to put it a number 1 to 10. How tough you want the seller to be. 1 meaning he's the marshmallow guy, right? He's he's marshmallow. And 10 is Freddy Krueger. How hard do you want him to be?
Freddy Krueger. We got some 7s, some 8s, 110, 1 2.
Oh my gosh.
So we'll go solid. We'll go solid 7.5, Denny.
All right. Now this is all right. So I'll let you also your house. Basically, we're having a meeting on your table, kitchen table, and past sales. Notice I don't say comps. Past sales are showing somewhere. They were 525, blah blah blah. In your marketplace, if you had a seller that's going to be a 7. What would a 7 want to list his home at? Put in the number. Comps are 5, 5.25. What would a 7 want to list at? I'm anxious to see what numbers you put in here. Come on, how much? I don't think it'd be 530, right? That wouldn't be a 7. That'd be a 2.
I'll answer.
575, 550, 580. You got a lot of nice people wherever you guys are. 650. There we go. Now we got somebody coming to reality. Let's take the 650.
Okay.
Now, would you not agree that, okay, so assuming past sales are around 500, 650 is a little aggressive, yes or no?
Yes.
What Joe said was right. And normally I wouldn't take a listing unless they had motivation, meaning sooner or later they'll capitulate. I'm actually standing by this. And you guys you don't have to do this if you don't want to. This is just my philosophy. Why am I doing this? I was on a phone call with an agent from California. And I don't know if there's anything from California here, but everything there is 7 figures. You want a 1-bedroom, 1-bath that's 7 figures, something, right? And we're not counting the pennies. Anyway, he did the math on the home. He did a market analysis, and it was around 2 million. And he knew that the market would probably, the market's upward moving. So let's just add maybe 10%. We'll list it at 2.2. The seller said, no, we want 2.5. Now, this guy is breaking the rules. Why? What rule number 1 he broke is he gave a price. I don't think he should give prices, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, all right, the seller said, I want 2.5. Would you have taken the listing or walked away? Just wondering.
In this market, I would have taken it.
Yeah, take Jill. Well, here's what he did. He said, tell you what, mistake number 2. He said, why don't we get it appraised? Now that's a mistake. Why? Because the appraised value has no bearing on what the market value is. Is there an amen? And that's, it's not a Bible verse, but is there an amen in the gallery? The appraisal came back at 2.3. He went to the sellers again and said, hey, look, all right, the appraisal came in at 2.3. Can we list it at 2.3? Guess what the seller said, Joe? No.
I want sticking with 2.5.
I want 2.5. He listed at 2.5, sold full price. So here, follow me on this, okay? He wants 650, past sales are showing 5. So let me ask you this, Joe. If we agree to put it on the market at 650, are you prepared? Are you prepared to sign the listing with me today?
Yeah, if you think we can go 650 and you stand behind that number with me, then let's do this thing.
Well, that's your number, right?
Yep.
And if you get that, I mean, clearly that is way above where the past sales. Wouldn't you acknowledge that?
I acknowledge that, yes.
And if you get 650, you win the big lottery, yes?
Absolutely.
And if you win, I win, right?
That's how I understand it.
Notice I wanted to gain clarity that I'm not standing behind that number. I have no fingerprints, no DNA on that number whatsoever. Do not put your fingerprints on it, because how many people had a listing in the past that they've given them a price and the market didn't deliver it? Now you have to crawl on your hands and knees over glass and through a minefield to ask for a price reduction. Well, you're the one that set the price, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? If it doesn't sell for the price you set, it sells less than that, they will always, until they're gone from this earth, blame you for that. So don't set prices, set expectations. So, all right, so this is a conversation. Now, you can put in there, and so I'll finish this short conversation, and you put in the chat, yes or no. Yes, meaning you would take the listing. No, you wouldn't. So I'm not walking away. So, Joe, here's my question. Here's the script that I would use. Joe, what are you going to do if the market says no? What are you going to do if the market says no to 650?
I'm gonna, I don't know, maybe wait a little longer and see if there's somebody else out there.
Okay. How long would you be waiting?
Well, I mean, not forever. I've got places to move to. So I don't know, maybe a couple of months, 2 or 3 months, and this thing's got to be sold.
And so you're selling this to move where and why?
Albuquerque, to be closer to family.
Awesome. Is that important to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So my question is, and I have a sheet that I go over the 3 outcomes. I'll share that later. My question to you is this: if you went to the doctor and the doctor prescribed a pill that wasn't working,
yeah,
how long would you take a pill that wasn't working before you wanted the pill that did work?
Yeah, not very long. I mean, we'd have to change the approach.
Now you want to take them to pain. So let me ask you right now. I know you want 650, but these homes that sold in the 5s. I mean, we haven't seen 5s in your neighborhood ever. I mean, that's the most we've ever seen in your neighborhood. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. Yep.
So how will you feel by waiting for 650? The market changes, and now instead of maybe worth in the 5 somewhere, it's worth in the 4 somewhere. How would you feel about that?
Well, that wouldn't be good at all.
So I guess what's your greater pain? Waiting on a number that you're not ever going to receive and having to lower it and getting top market value today, or waiting and watching your value erode and you're not going to get to move to Albuquerque close to your family?
Well, yeah, I mean, the latter definitely sounds worse. I mean, I don't want the value to go down, obviously, and I definitely have to move. So we're going to have to make it work.
Okay. Well, what you'll find with a lot of sellers is sooner or later, if there's motivation, he doesn't have to move right away. I don't need to sell. I understand you don't need to sell. However, would you not agree the market's at the very peak right now? Yes. Is there a chance it could go down? Yes. So what's the greater pain? You wait for a market, you can sell at the top right now. Or what if you lose 10 or 20%? How will you feel?
Right.
And you know what? The issue is, and so I just put in the chat right now, if you had a seller like that, but yes or no, no judgment. I'm just kind of curious. Would you take the listing or not? I just feel the listing will have some ancillary benefits where you might get some buyer calls and maybe something for an open house. And again, I didn't set the price. I did not set the price. You can't be mad at me. In fact, I might even say this, Joe, I'll tell you what, hey, look, I'm willing to go and roll the dice with you because you win, I win. However, here's my condition. If the market says no at 650 and you don't change it, and so we go on it for 90 days, my question is this: do you look at me and say, Danny, I really appreciate you rolling the dice with me. I know you put a lot of time and effort in it, didn't get compensated. I think you're an awesome agent. I'm going to use you the next time. Or you're going to look at me and say, like, you're a failure. I hired you to do the impossible and you didn't do it. What's going to be going through your brain?
Yeah, I'd probably be thinking the job didn't get done.
And will you look bad? Would you refer me? Would I be the type of agent you'd refer to people?
Probably not.
That's the only way I'm not going to take it. Listen, guys, this is kind of a joke. I know there's agents on here that work for different companies. We're Keller Williams. A lot of Keller Williams people here. Keller Williams. Listen, Keller's on our sign. Our name is not Helen. We're not miracle workers, guys. Here's the thing I want you to know, though. Can anyone tell me with 100% certainty it would not sell for 650 or something close? Yes or no? That's a big fat no. So the lesson in that whole thing is Quit being fortune tellers. You don't know what it's going to sell for. The market will determine what it's going to sell for.
Yeah, just a quick interjection, Denny. I back in Maine, I had a good friend of mine actually who I went over, did a listing appointment, came to price, started talking. They wanted classic scenario, right? They wanted to go well over what I thought it was worth. They ended up going with a different agent specifically because of the price, and it ended up selling for even more than what they listed it for. I was totally wrong with what a buyer was willing to pay in that market for that quality home, and it appraised. And I was blown away, and I was wrong, and they didn't use me, and now they won't use me. So I learned that lesson the hard way by putting my fingerprints on the price and being so certain with what I thought I knew that what could never happen, and I was wrong. So learn from that lesson, and take in what Denny's saying around not setting price, but expectations.
So while we're hovering right here, thanks, Joe. What do you guys have that you put in the chat? A seller or a buyer objection? We're going to put it in the queue of the role play. We'll keep moving forward. I'm going to get into the shadow sellers here in the next. However, the whole purpose of this class is for us to role play situations you have with buyers and sellers, objections you have with buyers and sellers, and see if you can stump me. Like the next mindset, as you're putting things in the chat, is this. A great listing agent, I want you to write this down. I want this to be an affirmation you have. A great listing agent. I'm a great listing agent. And the definition of a great listing agent, Joe, is to maximize the return of equity, the seller's equity, in the time the seller has available.
Yep. I like that.
Look at that one. Holloway Home Group. Who is that? We don't need an agent to sell our home in this market. Who put that in there? We don't need an agent. There's two of them. That's an excellent one. We get that a lot. Who wants to be a seller with us?
I'm seeing a head shake, Denny. A big heck no. What about Jenna? Jenna, you had a similar one.
Yes, I'm here. I'll be the seller.
Where are you from, Jenna?
Ocala, Florida.
Ocala, horse country.
Yes.
All right, guys, 1 to 10. You want her to be a 1, mean a marshmallow, or a 10, Freddy Krueger?
We have some 9s and some 8s. And
y'all
some
are
10s.
mean.
Yeah. Now the meanness is coming out. You asked for it, Denny.
Now, Jenna, you look kind of nice. Do you have it in you? Can you
Oh, is Andrew still on here? Is Andrew Smith still in here?
Andrews? You there?
Andrew Smith, is he still here?
He's more of a Freddy Krueger type?
No, he's our team leader for the office. I think he'll attest that I can be a 10.
I don't know. Well, here we go. They want you to be a 10 or a 9. Okay. That means, and Joe, you can be with her if you want, if you find that gear. Just all right, here's Joe. Just pretend like somebody walked up to you and messed your hair up. Okay, that'll get you in the mood to be a 10. Okay. So we're dealing with the objection. Andrew's in a meeting. Okay. We're dealing with the objection. Look, I can sell the house myself.
Yeah, I don't need you.
I understand, Jenna. Of course you don't need me. Now, I'm gonna. This may seem long because I'm going to give you a little John Gruden play-by-play. All right, we're watching this thing in slow motion. When you start working with people, the acknowledged part of it is, number one, don't go overboard. Like, oh yeah, I understand, blah blah blah, and spend 3 minutes on that. So I understand. The strategy is this. It's a lot like fishing. You know, there's a lot of people fish around here in Florida. And I don't know about Arizona, there's no water there, right? But we have a lot of fisher people here. And the strategy when you catch a fish sometimes is not yank the pole. What do you do, Joe? Tegan, what do? You fish in Alaska?
You start to reel.
You do this thing.
Oh, that's no. Does anybody fish? You don't do it. Oh, I need somebody to fish.
At the hook.
You let the fish run.
You let the fish run with the bait. Give them line.
Clearly, we have not rehearsed this.
Yeah, well, this might be the last time we do this together. So anyway, notice what I did. I said, Jenna, you don't need me.
I know.
Now, she's thinking like I'm agreeing with her, and I am. So when we have an objection, we have the option to agree with them or give them line or come at right angles. When you come at a right angle and you're conflicted, of course you do. What are they going to do? They're going to resist versus, when you let the fish run, eventually they're going to chew on that worm and swallow it. So Jenna, you don't need me. Anyone can give their house away.
Well, I wouldn't be giving it away.
Well, how do
I know
you
what
know?
the market's doing.
You do?
Uh-huh.
So let me ask you, other than like, you don't need me. I mean, yeah, you can put a sign in the yard and get a buyer for it. Why would you want to take that time and risk, et cetera? What is the main motivation for you to do that?
I ain't got nothing else to do.
Okay. So I'm
I'm
sorry
a
you have
housewife. My husband works.
I'm sorry you have such a boring life. All right. So let me,
Oh, I like you.
we can have some fun here. I wouldn't say that really.
I might.
Well, you need to be a 10. So other than the fact you have a hobby, right? You have time to do it. Is there any benefit in you doing that?
I'm not paying your fees.
Okay.
I think you guys are overpriced.
I get that. Oh, she is coming off as a 10 there. That's about 9.5 or 10. So other than saving money, so let me ask you, other than saving money, is there any other reason why you want to take on the liability and et cetera, doing that yourself?
What liability? I can do this. I'm smart.
Well, it has
Are
nothing
you
to do-
implying that I'm dumb?
No, I'm not implying that. There is a legal liability to a seller that is selling a house if you don't have certain things disclosed, et cetera, et cetera. So, I'm sure you're smart enough to handle that. But so is would you say the main reason is to save money?
Well, yeah.
So let me ask you is what's more important to you in this process, saving money or making money?
Well, I'm going to make money.
You are?
Yes.
Okay. And so you're gonna sell unassisted. You're not gonna have anybody representing you. So let me ask you, if I bring you a buyer that's willing to pay what you're asking for the home,
Uh-huh.
are you willing to compensate me for the buyer side of it at least?
I mean, what are you asking for?
Well, normally it's X, it's like if it's 2 times X, if you're going to list the agent and a buyer's agent, then it's going to be X. So I'm not using a number here just because I don't want to put out numbers right now.
Right.
So it's just going to be,
You could say half.
Half X.
Half X. That still seems like an awful lot. Can you do it for less?
So if the buyer was willing to pay you what you wanted and give you everything you want, would you be willing to pay the half X?
I mean, well, how did the buyer, I don't know.
No, possibly, right?
There's a possibility, yeah.
So let me ask you, do you cut your own hair?
No. I mean, it doesn't look all that great today because it's raining, but no, I don't cut my own hair.
Okay, well, my wife basically goes and she gets her hair done and she spends like $300 or $400. I mean, what's killer, right? But I mean, if she could kind of do that herself, don't they sell these coloring kits in a box like a Tony or something you could color your own hair and cut it, right?
But yeah, I mean, they sell it, but why would I?
You can save money and you have nothing else to do, right?
What's the experience?
Oh, would it be the results maybe?
And the results, but it's also the experience of getting pampered.
Okay. So
You said a 10 here. I'm being as argumentative as possible.
Okay.
I'm not normally like this.
That's okay. I mean, just as long as you're rational, I don't care how hard you are. You can't fight irrational people.
No.
So if I could take care of the money issue, you mind if I share a fact with you?
Sure.
The National Association of Realtors says unassisted sellers like you, they generally 90% of the buyers come from another agent. So you would be wise to have that built into your price.
Okay.
Because they're dealing with the most qualified buyers.
What? Yeah. Okay. Yes.
So then really realistically, would you not assume that you're working to save money because you don't like paying real estate people, half X? Would you not say that would be accurate?
Yes.
Let's say I really liked you and I would offer basically, Now, there's two things. I'm not taking the easy road here, guys. You could, in this market, say, okay, what number do you, let me just give you point A, the easy road, but you're not going to be able to take it much longer. What number would you want to walk away with, Jenna?
300.
Right? And that's assuming you're not paying any real estate fees, right?
Right.
So would you say that, let's say the real estate fees are $18,000. So what if I were to sell it for get your 300 and my fee was on top of that? Would you consider hiring me because you're really getting your 300?
I mean, as long as I'm hitting my numbers, yes.
Now, you guys can do that. Why am I saying you're not going to be able to do that much longer?
We're already starting to see the shift.
Yeah.
There you go. So if you build your castle on sand, be careful, it's not going to be washed away with the first wave. That's one way. Point two, have a story. So Jen, you might have to tell me a quick story.
I like a good story.
Well, I met a seller not long ago, just like you, and they wanted to save money. And we're selling the home themselves. They had a nice villa. It was a kind of a townhouse type thing in the area we specialize in. I asked the same question, what do you want? And they told me they wanted 225. And if they got 225, they'd be happy. Now, you want 300, you can be happy.
Yes.
We did the study of the market. Listen, the pricing in this market is very challenging because a lot of times you look at Zillow or you look at past sales and the buyers are coming from other areas that are used to paying more. You would want to find a buyer that wants to pay the most, right?
Well, yeah.
Well, you're like that other seller. And what happened with that other seller is that we said, well, tell you what, what if we could list it for 279,000? Would you be willing to pay our fee if we sold it in that range instead of 229?
Are you talking about the other guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he should have listed if you could get that for his house.
Well, we did list it at 279. We sold it for full price. He was happy with 229. The delta there, the difference is $50,000. So let me ask the question. If for every dollar we give you, would you give us 5 or 6 cents?
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, I know that story.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of ways to demonstrate. What I'm demonstrating to you guys is this: understand your value proposition. Let me give you another quick little story and we go on to something else, and you can just be normal with this. So let's assume you had to paint your house. Can you paint your house?
Yeah.
Anyone can paint. Listen, if you have a dog, we just took our dog to the groomer. Her name is Talent. Can you imagine? We had a Talent around us all the time. Yeah. Can you buy a pair of shears and trim your dog? Sure. What's it going to look like? Not so good. There's a skill. You can cut your own hair. Everyone can sing and dance. They don't get paid to do it, right? Yet somebody wants to think they can sell their house themselves and do it as good as us. Ain't no way that can happen. So assuming you want to paint your house, you could paint it, but you would have a better job. Would you not agree if you had a professional do it? Yes?
Of course.
So what if you won the drawing and a guy knocked on your door and said, listen, congratulations, Jenny, you just won. I've been a painter here for the last 10 years. And we always give away a painting job for someone basically out of random. And you happen to win it. And tell you what, and no strings attached. I'm very reputable. You can check me out. I'm going to paint your house for free. What would you say to that painter? Would you say no?
Yeah.
You wouldn't say no, I want to do it myself, would you?
No.
How would you like to win the double Jeopardy lottery winner?
Okay.
The painter said, tell you what, Jenna, you won the daily double. Not only am I going to paint your house for free, I'm going to pay you $5,000 if you let me paint your house. Would you let me do it?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Isn't that what we do? We're going to do all of the work for them, not only for free, we're going to put more money in their pocket. And that's a conversation of being able to articulate your value proposition. Listen, the science in this whole script, Joe, is if they say they can sell it themselves, that's the same thing as saying, I can cut my hair myself. Yes, you can. And everyone will know it. So,
sorry.
So let's get into the shadow sellers real quick. We'll do some more role play. Okay, here we go. 7 sources of shadow sellers. Here they are. Hang on. There they are. 7 sources of shadow sellers. Those that should be, could be, used to be, just might be, are not selling, and afraid to be, and have to be. Don't worry about writing that down. I'm going to go over these one at a time. Let's talk about number 6, which is afraid to be. This is the homeless seller. This is the most popular, there's more shadow sellers out there like this than ever before. So I want someone who is working with a seller right now that's hesitant. Joe, maybe you can find out who's, when they look away from the TV camera, they know that they've probably got one. They don't want you to call on them. I want to roll. Thanks, Jenna. You were awesome. You were like 10 plus. So who has a seller? And I want to role play with you how to handle a seller that won't buy. I won't sell because they're afraid of not having something to move into.
All right. Who wants to role play? I know we all on this call have this exact kind of client right now. This is your chance. Real life interaction. It's not so scary over here. You can do it. All right, Keith, you're up. I'm coming to you. You're my go-to. I know I can always call on you. You'll play ball.
You, man. All right.
Keith.
Hello.
So rather than ask, you give me a number, 1 to 10. How tough are you going to be?
You want me to give you the number, or is this up for negotiations on the group?
Well, they're all 10s. I think they're coming back with 10. So they want you to be tough. Rational but tough.
I'll do my best.
All right. So I understand. So we just went over what the market's going to be doing right now. Are you ready to move forward and take advantage of this white hot market, Keith?
Well, I'm a little concerned that if we sell and get top dollar, then I'm going to have to use that money that I just made and spend it in order to get another place to live.
Well, in this particular case, okay, just to be clear, this is not, you don't want to sell because you're afraid you won't have somewhere to go. So
yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to find another place that's as high in equity as mine.
All right. So other than that, is there any other reason why you wouldn't want to take advantage of this great market?
No, that's really my main concern.
All right. So you're in a common area right there. I hear the background noise. So that's okay. Just mute yourself and use the space bar when you talk.
Gotcha.
Okay. So let me ask you this, Keith. Obviously, step 1 is find out if they're a buyer or a seller. This is how you find out. So Keith, do you have to sell in order to buy?
I do.
All right. So he is a seller, not a buyer. So let me ask you, have you been looking at property around the area in which you want to live?
Yes.
Have you seen homes you've liked?
Absolutely.
That you can afford?
No.
Well,
should I say yes?
Well, the issue is I can handle any of it. It just takes a little bit more surgery. I can, the one is a gallbladder. The route you're going is heart surgery, because if you can't afford something, now I've got to deal with your expectations. And instead of living in the Boardwalk and Park place, I have to take you back to Pennsylvania.
Gotcha. So yes, I can afford them.
Okay. So what's your plan? I mean, why are you wanting to move anyway? Now we're going to motivation. Why are you moving anyway, Keith?
I got a better job, and so I need to relocate for my job.
And okay, so you got to relocate. So are we talking about in the same city? So it's going to be a different commute, or it's a different city?
No, it's same city, just different commute.
Okay. And so obviously that house is going to be closer, right?
Yes.
Well, what is your plan to get there? If you have to sell first in order to buy, you're seeing things come on the market, but they're probably sold before you can get to them, right?
Yes, I can't even get a showing schedule before they come off the market.
So what's your plan?
I didn't have one. I've been winging it this whole time.
The rest of you guys listening, now here's the play-by-play. Do not solve a problem until you're sure they know they have one. See, he wants to get closer. You don't win a chess match by one move. You've got to kind of triangulate them. And I'm basically, many times the questions, I'm discovering things or I'm cutting off avenues of retreat. Well, have you thought about the contingency idea, finding a seller that would sell to you contingent?
I have, but with my job starting, they would have to let me have residency for 90 days. And I'm not sure if I can find a buyer that would be willing to put up with that.
I got it. So that, I mean, that really wouldn't work either in this market. Are you seeing the houses go pretty fast?
Yeah, like within 3 days.
So based on how you see houses coming on the market, if you had the money, if basically you had an app on your phone and you could press that and the equity of your home would be downloaded into your PayPal account and you could stay in the house while you're shopping, how long would it take you to find and maybe secure a house to move into closer to your work?
I would like it to be done within 30 days.
Well, do you think that's possible?
Yes.
You guys, he's filling in the blanks. If you fill in the blanks, it's dangerous. I'm asking how much time he'll need to stay in his house because I'm setting him up for the next point. So are you saying then, Keith, basically, I know there's no app out there, but you know what we call people like you? Congratulations, you're a golden seller. Doesn't that make you feel good?
It
You know
sure
what?
does.
You know why we call you a golden seller? Because buyers are looking for sellers that they can secure. Buyers would want to buy your house and give you your equity. And you can stay there for 30 days, maybe even 60 days. And while you look for a home, now you have your money in your hand and you're staying in your home. So you've got one move. If that were possible, would that work?
That would work.
So then now what we're doing, and here's the script. If we could sell your home for more money in this white hot market and the buyer would let you live there until you found your next home, would you entertain that idea? This works with 100% of rational sellers. We have a buyer in Naples that will let a seller stay in their house 2 years. So get out of the way a little bit, you guys, because Keith has motivation. He wants to move. Do you think there's a buyer out there that would let him stay in his house for a month or two? Rent free, or even if he pays rent, don't get into the weeds. Let him have his equity and go find a home. If he had the ability to buy without selling, now he's a buyer. Go and find the home, secure it, come back and sell. So Joe, let's debrief that. Keith, thanks so much. Nice job. So you guys will see how simple that is. You think it would work? Anyone? Come on. I'm going to go on strike if you don't talk.
Well, what we're hearing so far, guys, go ahead and write in the chat box or raise your hand if you want to come off mute. Jill said in the chat box, I was just wondering how long people would stay 2 years. Is there a limit to this?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It was confusing. I'm not good at typing. I actually had someone saying, well, can I lease it back for 9 months if I sell my home now in this good market? And I said, I didn't know how long. And that was funny when you said 2 years, Denny, because I was just thinking about what was the longest that you've heard. But heck, 2 years, 9 months is nothing then.
Right now, until the market shifts, I can tell you whatever a seller wants, they can get.
Everything's negotiable.
Well, it's a blessing to buyers. Why? Because they want to lock something up. They don't want to move yet because if their kids have to graduate high school. They've got the money. They want to lock in a price. They're glad you're staying there. So change your thinking, guys. Any other comments? Let's go on to shadow seller number 1. I did 6 first, so I'm going now. Here's the 1. Those that should be on the market. You guys, there's people out there with motivation right now that should be on the market and not. The same survey I showed you where the buyers said 64% of the buyers said it's not a good time to buy. 84% of sellers think it's a great time to sell. And you know what? There's an interest. So in other words, when you make your lead generation calls, when you make your sphere calls for a property owner, 70% of the people have an interest in what their home may be worth in today's market. So rather than getting a 3 or 4 or 5% return on your phone calls, how about a 70% interest rate of having a conversation on what their home's worth? They should be on the market. They have motivation to move, yet they're afraid. Be the parent, say it's okay to go into kindergarten. All right, number 2, I'm going to give you 7 reasons why sellers should be on the market. And I'm going to give you an idea to market this. Here's the 7 reasons sellers should be on the market now. Inventory shortage, yes, but it's changing. Upward pressure on price. Yep, we're seeing that. In fact, I think you gave us those numbers already in Phoenix. We've seen 30 and 40% year over year change in price here in Southwest Florida, Joe. 30 to 40%.
Wow.
Less competition as sellers leave the market. If a seller is afraid to come on the market, and one that comes on the market in a low inventory setting, that's an advantage to the sellers that are for sale. Buyers in the market are more serious. Would you not say amen to that? Yes. I mean, holy cow, they got to have track shoes on with spikes, you know? Number 5, there's a spike. There's a spike in buyer activity. Yes, we've seen that. Number 6, record low interest rates. That's a factor, you guys. I mean, interest rates being low, but it's not an exciting factor because they've been low for so long. People just take it for granted, but it's a factor. And number 1, and an important one, is the window is open now. It won't last forever. So take a picture of that, because this is what you can do. One of the agents from my classes, Joe, when I went through the 7 reasons why sellers should be on the market, he did this. He posted that on a social media. Hey, contact me to learn the 7 reasons why sellers should be on the market now. And he made the phone ring. Isn't that pretty cool where sellers are calling you? So you know what? I figured I'm teaching it, and somebody else actually put it to use. I did the same thing. I sent this out in my constant contact, 7 reasons why sellers should be on the market now. I had 5 sellers call within the first 2 days. What's this about the 7 reasons? Don't publish the 7 reasons. Say you have them and let them call in for you. All right, got that. This is the next one. Oops, here we go. There's sellers out there that are thinking about selling in the next 6, 12, 18, 24 months. We call these the could-be's on the market. That's almost like the shadow seller. I mean, not the shadow seller, that's almost like the homeless seller. They've got to wait for their graduation of their high school seniors. They have to wait for the job transfer. They have to wait for whatever. They want to move to Florida. They want to move to Arizona, but they're a year or 2 away. What kind of conversation would you have with them to get them on the market now? Here's an example of that script. Secondly, this is following the script. It starts with, hey, how you doing? There's an extreme shortage of homes for sale. If I could sell your home for more money in this white hot market, would you consider selling now instead of later? Well, yeah, but I got to be here. Well, what if we could then work out a delayed possession? Again, this is a potential listing you could have come in. Expired and terminated, those that used to be. Go back a year, go back 2 years, go back specifically in the last year, around the first part of the last year, because that's when a lot of people terminated their listings because of COVID. It's a gold mine. See, look, it's okay. Come on in, the water's fine. Next, those that just might be. Gary Keller sold his investment property. These are people that have second homes. And right now, I don't know what travel is going to be like, yet their second home, they're not using as much because of COVID. Maybe they want to cash out. They're investment properties. If you have people that are investors, they are awesome sellers. Why? Because they're not emotionally attached to the property and they'd love to sell high. I mean, Phoenix, that's kind of a hotbed for second homes there, right, Joe?
Yeah, 100%.
Prescott. And look how many people are coming in from California. The other thing that's cool is these northern states, the snowbirds for Florida. You look at the western states that are coming in. Prices are typically high. higher than what they're buying here. And so, you know what? It's driving our markets crazy. And I can't believe the seller wouldn't want to take advantage of that. Number 5, those that are on the market now and not selling. So is there such thing, you guys, are you seeing expired listings in your market? Yes or no? We almost went to no expired listings. They were almost all selling. So they're going to start coming back a little bit. So if you're not selling, if you have a listing right now that's not selling, have a conversation with the seller, because really it's probably not selling in this white hot market because it's not positioned properly. If you go to my YouTube channel or you email me, I'll give you this famous fishing sheet. Have you ever seen the hard copy of this fishing sheet, Joe?
The hard copy, like the printed paper copy. Yeah. Yeah. It's one of my favorite things that we've added to the KCN listing presentation.
This is in the KCN listing presentation. This is the 3 outcomes. You guys, if you can come up with another outcome other than these 3 outcomes, I'm going to put your name and your picture on this form and I'll name it after you. When a seller lists a home, every listing, there's only 3 things that can happen. One is low to no showings, which means the hook is here, the fish are there. So if you have a listing on the market now and it's not selling, yeah, I mean, you have low to no showings. That means your price is way too high. Outcome 2, there's showings and no offers. Outcome 3, it sells. This is a listing sheet we use all the time with our sellers, and they actually initial it. So I've designed this form with no branding on it. If you want the hard copy and go over it with your seller, it's magic when you tell them at a listing appointment, there's only 3 outcomes. Joe, really quick, role play with me. You're going back to that seller. You want $650 for your home.
Okay.
A seller will ask us, well, Denny, what do you think? Will it sell? This is beautiful. We don't know the future. Well, I can tell you, Joe, 1 of 3 things will happen. Outcome 1 is low to no showings, which means we're way too high. Outcome 2, we have showings and no offers, which means we're a little bit too high. Outcome number 3, it sells.
Simple enough.
So I'll tell you what, Joe, let's expose it to the market. Let's wait a week or 2. And when I call Joe after a week, hey, Joe, it's week 1. It's our first follow-up call. Do you have your fishing sheet handy?
Yeah, I've got it right here.
Yeah, you seem really excited about it. So, okay, good. We've had no showings. What outcome are we at?
Number 1, low to no showings. Bait's too high.
All right, are you ready to reposition?
Yeah, we've got to get that bait lower.
Well, based on the role he was playing on when we first did the role play at 650 and whatever, it may not be ready after 1 week, right? Oh no, it's only been a week. Okay, week 2. Hey Joe, we've had 1 showing in 2 weeks. What outcome were you at?
Still number 1, low to no showings.
Now, if you were a seller, what else would you be saying?
Well, yeah, but there was that one couple that came that one time and they sounded like they might be interested. Or I still have hope that somebody, from out of the country is going to find this thing on Craigslist or something.
And then you're going to question, what about my marketing, right?
Yeah. What are you doing to get, Denny, what are you doing to get buyers to my house?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. Notice that here's the what do you call it? What do you call the website? When you look on the back, the metrics. In the last 2 weeks, Joe, we've had your home has come up on 345 different searches. And actually, we've had 35 people take the virtual tour, and only one person walked through it was a showing. Yeah. Clearly, the marketing's working.
Yeah, I didn't realize there was that much traffic to the website.
So you're going to be able to show them that the marketing's working. So anyway, it's a brilliant sheet. You can email me. I'll tell you what, these things, just email me at coachdannygrimes@gmail, coachdannygrimes@gmail. I'll send you the sheet. All right. So that's the 5th one. They're on the market, not selling. Let's go to number 6.
Denny, hold on real quick before you do. There's a question in the chat box. I'm trying to figure out exactly what it means. Can you speak on condition of the home, sloped yard, or are those not placing offers based on railroad tracks or conditions that are unchangeable? Okay, I got you now. It's not just a matter of price, but conditions around the home. I mean, we call some of those things functional obsolescence, but things like railroad tracks near the approach end of a runway, things like that can't be changed.
Well, yeah, sure. So Holloway Home Group, I don't know who's actually writing it, so I can speak on it. Listen, okay, let me just speak on it. There's only one thing that matters on selling a house. Not one, it's price. It is not price and condition. Now, you can change the condition, they can change the price. However, did anyone ever come into your office and knock on your desk and say, I just would love to live at the end of the runway next to the railroad tracks that's right down the window of the landfill? No. However, homes like that sell, don't they? Because they're priced accordingly.
Yeah.
So condition, yes, condition affects price. However, watch this. You got to be pure on this. It's all about price. I have seen listings, immaculate. Looks like out of something out of Southern Living. Not sell. Conditions perfect. Why didn't it sell, Joe?
Price was too high.
I've had listings that should be on the hoarder show. I mean, you don't show it without a hazmat. Forget about the little booties. You need a hazmat suit to go in there.
Right.
Guess what it did, Joe?
Multiple offers over asking.
There you go. It's price. Now, I want you to know that that's not what we preach to the sellers, because they're expecting us to be, what are we going to do? Now, here's the thing. Even if we gave seller what we think would be the right starting price, does that mean they can do it? No. Listen, I had what do you call that? LASIK surgery. The doctor took this little machine like a laser, and it was on this thing, and like it took 10 seconds. I mean, I think I could do it myself. It looked pretty easy. Or better yet, I think an appendectomy. It's like you take a sharp knife, maybe a box cutter or something. Like I've seen MacGyver do this. You put it under a flame and pour whiskey on you, and then you cut yourself, pull the sucker out, sew it up. Doesn't seem that difficult. I've seen YouTube on it. Self-appendectomy. Listen, you guys. No, of course they can't do it. Even if they had the price, there's a skill in what we do. Never lose sight of that. So we're down to the last 15 minutes. And let's see, I have here. Here's where we're going to go into any the seventh one. This was one we talked about earlier. They may have to. This is the forbearance seller. And I don't think we're going to see that. However, be looking for the people that might be in forbearance, because you're going to be able to help them sell and get their equity. Most likely lenders, and again, there's a lot of people in forbearance, but the only rescue plans the government's working on is government-backed loans. They're going to tack it on to the end. They'll amortize it for 40 years. There's other people that may not want to do that. Awesome potential listing for you. So where are your requests, you guys? What would you like to talk about? Joe, can people come off mute just a little bit to end this with a couple significant Stump Denny and Joe role plays?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. So we've been going for about an hour and a half now. We've talked about not only the types of sellers that are out there, but how to identify them and the specific ways that they should be selling, and the way to overcome objections, both the scripts and the scientific approach of acknowledge, isolate, overcome, and close. So with all that being said, we've got a few minutes left. So as it pertains to listings, what questions do you have? What objections have you heard? How can we make this last few minutes together the most valuable to you personally? What do you want to leave this call with? We intentionally build in this time to give you an opportunity to ask questions and to, like Denny said, overcome a script, overcome an objection that you're hearing. So who wants to come off mute? Who has the first one?
I guess it's just a generic question. I was talking to someone who didn't know the value of their home. I was just having an appointment. And then she said, well, I have no upgrades in my home. And I thought, well, at this seller's market, I mean, the home was fine. It was gently used to me, but she was asking me questions of, well, do I have to upgrade to sell the home? What is the answer now if it's a seller's market? I mean, the carpet looked fine. I just said probably cleaning, but people don't have to update their homes that are old, that are 20 years old, do they, to sell? Like, I didn't think that was a recommendation in this market. I just need feedback on that.
Well, That's a great question. Typically speaking, there's the National Association of Realtors and the National Home Builders put together a cost value report every year. You can Google it.
Okay.
It's by sections of the country. The cost value report, and what the essence of this report is, it's kind of surprising, and it's liberating for sellers. Do you think the seller wants to hear you walking in there and saying, yes, replace this, change that, paint this, do this? But they've been thinking about it for 15 years and never done it. Do you think they want to do it to sell now?
No, I said the same thing to her. I said, no, it looks, I think just, clean the carpet, but it looked fine to me. Yes, it was dated, but in the seller's market, I didn't think that was the question she gave to me. But no, I did not give her a punch list. That's for sure. But I didn't know really how to address that, I guess.
If there's minor maintenance issues, if there's, cleanliness issues, cleaning carpets, sometimes some fresh paint or whatever, mulch, all those types of things, I'm not saying don't do it, because it's like you would wash your car before you take it in to get it traded in, right? Or a value. But the blue book's going to tell you what the value, the cost value report says, okay, if you invest this in a front door, this in a finished basement, this in a pizza oven, do you get that when you resell it? And here's the shocking thing. 99% of the things sellers do to fix up their home cost more than it will bring them on the resale. With the exception, if you happen to be a cabinet maker and you can go and buy stuff wholesale and you can put sweat equity in and you can put in new cabinets in that new kitchen, it only costs you $15,000 instead of $45,000 if you did a retail, that may be okay. One more thing out there, guys, is this. Everybody, probably most men, not to be gender focused on this, but maybe some women too, maybe all women. Okay, I'll just be political. If you had I've never done this work. If you had your perfect dream car, what would it be? Put it in the chat. I'm just curious. What would be your perfect dream car? I'm not talking about a new car. We're going to go back. What year? Like mine would be a '69 Camaro Z28. But I'm going to just see any cars come in here. I'm just kind of curious. 58 Corvette. Now you're playing. Okay. Get it. I get it. Nobody else wants a car. Mercedes, Land Rover. Okay. Here's my point. If you want to maximize the return and take it to Barrett Jackson's auction, do you ever see a Camaro or one of those muscle cars, those the collectors, those antiques, half done?
Nope.
They're bumper to bumper. So I had a client one time, and here's the lesson. They wanted to fix up their home to sell. So what they did is they read somewhere, kitchens and baths, kitchens and baths. They looked awesome. And what do you think happened to the rest of the house when people came in and saw the kitchens and baths updated and the rest was dated? What did they see?
Everything that's outdated.
Yes. You could get the perfect, great tuxedo and a great tie and cummerbund, and you wear white socks and tennis shoes. The only thing you're going to see is white socks and tennis shoes. So 69 Impala, Firebird, Smokey and the Bandit. Okay, what's next? Joe, come on. We got a couple of questions, whatever, maybe one role play, 4 or 5 minutes, we're out of here.
I have a question. I've been doing an open house for 3 weeks and there's been no offers. So what's that look like?
Are you the agent?
No. But I'm wondering what the agent's going to do, because I'm like, I'm learning this process. I'm like, it's 3 weeks. What are we going to do when we look at the 3 outcomes? There's been no.
About the 3 outcomes, Joe. Let's talk about that. Have there been little to no showings, or some showings, no offers?
No, the openings, people are excited. They like it. There's just been no offers. And they said, hey, their price is sell. So I said, hey, put in an offer and then they can counter offer, but there's been no offer, formal offers put into this home.
So are you at 1, 2, or 3 outcome?
I'm at the 2 outcome, right?
The 2 outcome. And what's the corrective action for that outcome?
Price lower.
Smaller price adjustment, right? I think it's at 2 to 5%, and outcome 1 is something like 5 to 8%. So a smaller price adjustment.
Okay.
presumably, right? But that's going to depend on the listing agent and the conversations and the expectations that they're setting with their seller and the seller's motivation and timeline, right? If they've got 90 days to sell, some sellers will want to stretch that. If they've got 30 days to sell, then you would see a price adjustment sooner. It also depends on the quality and ability of that listing agent to have those conversations, which is exactly why we're training to it the last hour and a half.
Right. I can't wait to see what they're going to do this week because I'm sure a decision has to be made. I'm just wondering where it's going to come.
Let me make this point too. So Jill, how do you know your outcome too? You're only judging it based on open house traffic, correct?
That's correct.
You cannot use open house traffic as a gauge of showings.
So would I ask the listing agent, like how many showings have you had? Or I haven't really, it's on my team. They haven't really mentioned it that much and I haven't seen that much movement.
Well, first of all, why hasn't it sold?
I think the square footage, it's overpriced.
Stop.
Sorry, it's overpriced.
Stop. That's
Okay.
it.
Okay.
There's no other reason.
Okay.
Take any listing that you have that same outcome 1 or 2, and reduce the price to $1. Buyers are everywhere. Well, then somewhere, then you don't want to sell it for $1. Then how high can you take it where somebody still wants to buy it? The reason you don't count open house as traffic because they're curious people. These are not qualified showings. They're curious. They're neighbors. They want to see the house. They got to use the bathroom. Who knows what? If they're not making appointments to see it, that means the market's saying no. One more point, I'm going to blow your mind. If you are a listing agent, you take listings and you send feedback forms to the people who look at your listings. Do not ask them what they think about the price.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what they think about the price. Why? Because if it's priced right, you'll be outcome 3. If it's not priced right, you're an outcome 1 or 2. If you had a freezer, if you had a freezer and you wanted to find out if it was working, and you don't have a thermometer, what might you do?
If you don't have
A bowl of water.
Yeah.
You'd put a bowl of water in it. And if you came up the next morning, it was frozen. What is the freezer working or not?
Yep.
If the water isn't frozen, the freezer is not providing the right environment. It's the same thing in selling a home. You've got to be in the right environment, and the 3 outcomes will show you where they are. So I don't know, unless there's something else. Let's go. Maybe Joe, you can wrestle some ahas out of this group before we sign off.
Yeah, let's wrestle a couple of
ahas.
ahas. What did you hear today that you either learned or that you heard again that just clicked or makes sense in this particular market? How many conversations is it taking others to book an appointment after initial conversations with FSBO and expireds? Any script for those follow-up conversations?
I don't have hard data on how many conversations it takes. However, what questions are you asking? So for example, if a follow-up on a for sale by owner, or what I call an unassisted seller, or an expired, would be something like this. Hey, Joe, ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey, it's Danny. Hey, I'm just kind of curious. It looks like your home is still for sale. Is that the case?
Yeah, still for sale.
Are you at all concerned that basically we're in the best market we've ever had and people are buying houses like crazy and are not buying yours?
I'm confident it'll sell eventually.
Yeah, but it's kind of like you're in high school. I mean, no one would ever ask you to dance, right? So, hey, no, I'm kidding with that statement. So, well, let me ask you. The reason why I'm just referring you. Why are you doing this? Are you attempting? No, I'm not going to ask that. Why are you attempting to go unassisted?
Well, I want to sell, and I think based on market conditions, I can do it and save a few bucks on commission.
Well, the market is saying no to what you're asking right now. So you're going to have to make a change. So when you make a change, where are you going to price it at next?
I haven't really thought about that yet. Honestly, I was just going to kind of wait and see. I don't really even know how long I should wait until I consider that.
Well, I think you're a pretty good guy. Would you hire me to get your home sold if I worked for free?
If you worked for free and I didn't have to deal with all this hassle, yeah, the job would be yours. But like I said, I'm just trying to save a few bucks and squeeze some pennies so I can bring it to the next place.
I'll tell you what, I'll let you squeeze the pennies so you can grip the dollars, okay? I'm available today at 3 or would 5 be better? I'll show you how I'll sell it for you for free.
I'm open to a conversation.
That's what I would do. You've got to sound different. And I already believe I can sit down with any sellers and demonstrate how I can get them more money. Will this be available to rewatch since it was recorded? Yeah, I don't know. That's up to Tegan and the KCN. So Joe, you're seeing some of the, maybe you can scroll back and see what some of the ahas were and read them off and we'll get out of here.
Yeah, we've got one. So Jenna said unload, then unpack. That was one of her takeaways. Unload, then unpack. Other than that being the key 3-word phrase. Mark said set expectations, not price. Great takeaway. Really great takeaway. Michael said don't use the word comps, use past sales. Jill said, what do I tell myself? Mindset, right? And then as far as rewatch goes, yes, this can be available for rewatch for all of you that were on the call. Just go ahead and email Tegan and she will provide you with the recording. Tegan at thekristencolenetwork.com. If you could, Tegan, just throw your email in there so they can copy and paste it.
Yes, and I want to give Tegan props. She was the only one that I could see in the chat that got the Bible verse right, Jesus wept. So her 15 years going to Christian school paid off. So you guys have been awesome. Thanks for being with us, Joe. Thanks for being my co-host. And again, if you want the 3 outcome form, the email is in the chats, coachdanny.grimes@gmail.com. I'll send you the PDF. You can use it. I have a class. Let me just show you this really quick, again, really fast before you go. If you're interested in doing some mastery role play, remember I have my YouTube channel. Go to that, Danny Grimes Mastery of Real Estate. And I have right here, I think, give me a second. Maybe don't, maybe I can't find it. Tuesdays 1 to 2 o'clock Eastern time. And I probably didn't add that slide in the deck. But anyway, just email me. We'll send you an invitation to my mastery class, 1 to 2 Eastern, every Tuesday. Coach Danny Grimes at Gmail. Thanks for your time, Joe. You're awesome. Hair looks good today, too.
Well, thank you for your time, Denny, and for your wisdom and for your practical application. Everybody have a great time. Go and implement this information. Go and use it with your clients and with your sales teams. And we will see you back for our next class.
Ciao.